This is a General Electric AM radio, according to Sam's and AntiqueSomethingRadio.com. This is from 1946. It's Sam's folder number 4. It's a GE Model 250. It's a portable radio with a rechargeable battery. Has a 3-position tone control, on, off, and charge, volume, and tuning. This thing is all metal, pot metal, rings right in at 20 pounds. Could get a battery in this and take it down to the beach and rock some Limbaugh, early ghetto blaster. It uses 1-volt Loctal tubes. Has 5 of them. It has a RF stage. And the battery is in here. Here's the battery. Let me pull it out. So here's the battery. It's a lead acid storage battery, single cell, so it's 2.1 volts. This one's completely dried out. 2.1 volts at 25 amp hour. I picked up 2 of these radios yesterday at the ham swap meet. The way they work is they use a vibrator, which is right here. As a chopper to invert the voltage up to 90 volts or 88 volts, and then the tubes run on the 1.5, or actually the 2 volts from the battery. It uses a 8 ohm inductor as a resistor, probably some type of noise suppression. And I have the other one operating. I'm going to show you that. The problem with it was the vibrator wasn't working, and this thing is actually soldered. It's soldered all the way around, so you have to use a torch to open it. Also, this radio has something interesting, which is a bias cell, which is like a permanent battery that's soldered in the circuit like a capacitor. And it's to keep the grid of the audio output tube negative. Wanted to show this really quick. This right here is the gas vent nipple for the battery. When it's charging, it vents hydrogen, and these balls are the charge indicator by indicating the specific gravity of the sulfuric acid. That's how you know if it's charged or not. And this nipple plugs into this right here, which plugs into this, which are these 2 little holes, come on, focus, right there, which are the hydrogen gas vent for the lead acid battery in the back of the radio. So here's the vibrator, and I wanted to show, you can see the resistor there, but I wanted to show this screw here. It's going to be really hard to see on the camera, but there's an adjustment screw right down through that hole. You can kind of see it there. See that little slotted screw through that hole in the lead? Anyway, when I initially got this thing, it wouldn't vibrate, and so I started to measure, and I was getting the 220 ohms from this resistor. This contact wasn't making connection and bypassing the resistor. That's how it works. It opens and closes that resistor as it moves back and forth and turns a coil basically on and off. It's like a closed loop type of thing where it opens itself and then recirculates. So anyway, I turned that little screw a quarter turn, and that got it running. and it has, you can see here, it has 4 points, which, see if you can see them here. You can kind of see the 4 points. Thing's 2 volt. Okay, here's the other radio on the bench, and it's sitting up on its side. And also here's my regulated power supply. And I'm going to be using this to supply a negative 3 volts to the grid of the audio output tube in place of the bias cell, and I'm going to use this to supply the 2 volts. This does have a line cord. You can run this offline, but the problem is without the battery or a dead battery, the battery acts as the filter capacitor, so you get this buzzing going into the vibrator. Now here's the disassembled vibrator right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the voltage here, and you'll see the vibrator take off.
To get by for 5 days until payday? The total interest cost would only be $67.67. Really? The details and locations are at don'tbebroke.com. Charge 197.6% initial cost information toll free 866-550-43.
The Junior's Deli is closing down.
That's where you'd come when you were sick. You'd come, you'd get your soup here. You'd get your sandwich.
Smoke alarms from just $24.97. A sealed lithium battery keeps these alarms working for 10 years, so you never change batteries. With 4
학년부터 12학년까지 학교 성적 관리부터 대학 입시 준비까지 한 번에 해결하는 A1 러닝.
I want to show a couple things here. This right here is the bias cell. And also, as you guys will notice, this radio is 100% original. Look at all those nice wax capacitors in there. Look at that. Sealed wax molded capacitors. Oh, and you'll notice
Queda el jugador Paul Mills con el rebote. There's the wires. You're in the hut. Knocked off the road. So if you're ready.
it works really good. And besides the buzzing from the vibrator being open and the fluorescent lights lighting this video, it is really sensitive and works really good. This just goes to show that all the people that assume that all the capacitors have to be changed or the piece of equipment will explode and burn in flames and will never be repairable and the world will come to an end because you left a wax or paper capacitor in there, and that it's just a rule that changing them, the thing will work perfect, just goes to show what a bunch of whatever you want to call it that is, and that 9 times out of 10 for me, changing the capacitors doesn't fix it. In this case, it was the vibrator was the problem. I'm not saying it doesn't need to be recapped. It will probably get recapped in the future, but the caps are usually never the major problem for me. These are kind of interesting. These are copper oxide rectifiers. A very early type of rectifier.
Y al final del tiempo, como tú dices, son cosas de oportunidades desperdiciadas, diría yo, que se podría definir la primera mitad del equipo de los Redskins, porque dos... Almost gambling.
Found out I had medically induced gout from the medication that I take. My uric acid levels were, pretty high.
Plus, payments for 90 days. Hurry into the final hours of the four-store market.
An opportunity for America as well. This current year was a relatively difficult one by Chinese standards.
0.9% APR financing for well-qualified. Air rising, missing the jumper. The Gold Guys guarantee the highest prices on your gold.
Yeah, all original from 1946.